When my wife, Sarah, told me she wanted freedom instead of our marriage, I didn't argue. I simply looked at her, nodded, and let the weight of her words sink in. She had been restless for months, speaking of independence, of wanting to find herself. I thought it was just a phase, but that night she packed a suitcase and walked out. My heart felt like it had been ripped out of my chest, yet I stayed silent, watching the woman I loved choose solitude over everything we had built together. The first night alone in the house was unbearable. Her absence echoed in every corner, the empty spot on the bed, the quiet kitchen, the untouched coffee mug she used every morning. But I forced myself to stay strong. She wanted freedom, and who was I to hold her back? Still, the silence made me question everything. Was I too controlling, too predictable, too ordinary for her? A week passed, and I tried to distract myself with work. Friends told me to move on, to accept her choice. Yet deep down, I knew Sarah hadn't thought it through. She had been chasing an idea, a fantasy that being free would solve her unhappiness. I expected a call eventually, but I promised myself I wouldn't beg. On the 7th day, my phone finally buzzed with her name on the screen. For a long moment, I hesitated. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let her taste the consequences of her decision. But my heart still belonged to her, so I answered. Her voice was shaky, almost broken, as she asked, "Can we talk?" We met at a small cafe where we used to go during the early days of our relationship. The moment she walked in, I could see the exhaustion in her eyes. She looked smaller, weaker, like life had drained the spark she once carried. She tried to smile, but it trembled on her lips. "Freedom isn't what I thought it would be," she admitted after a long silence. Her fingers nervously traced the rim of her coffee cup. "I thought leaving would make me feel alive, but instead, I feel lost. Empty. Like I gave up the one person who truly cared for me." Her words should have softened me, but I felt anger bubbling beneath the surface. Where was this realization when she was walking out the door with her suitcase? Where was this honesty when she chose herself over us? I wanted to scream, to remind her of the nights I lay awake alone, questioning my worth. But I stayed calm. "What did you expect to find out there?" I asked quietly. She looked away, ashamed. "I thought I'd find happiness, maybe excitement. Instead, I found loneliness. The friends I thought would support me disappeared. The freedom I wanted only feels like a cage now. I miss home. I miss you." Her confession cut deep, but it didn't erase the pain she caused. Love is powerful, yes, but trust once broken doesn't mend overnight. I stared at her, wondering if I could ever let her back into my life without the shadow of her choice haunting us forever. She reached across the table, trying to hold my hand, but I pulled back slightly. "You wanted freedom, Sarah," I said. "You got it. And now you've learned what it costs." Her eyes filled with tears, and for the first time, I felt the power shift. I wasn't the broken one anymore. She was. She begged me to give her another chance, promising she had learned her lesson. But promises meant little to me now. A week of silence had been long enough for me to realize something too. I deserved someone who wouldn't abandon me in the name of selfish dreams. That night, I went home and thought about her words. The part of me that still loved her fought with the part of me that had finally found strength in her absence. And in that battle, strength won. I decided I couldn't go back to someone who saw our marriage as a prison rather than a partnership. The next morning, I called her and told her the truth. "I'll always care about you, Sarah. But what you left behind is no longer waiting for you. You chose freedom, and I'm choosing peace. We can't go back." The silence on the other end told me she understood. She cried, begged once more, but I didn't waver. For once, I chose myself, just as she had chosen herself a week earlier. The difference was, my choice wasn't about running away, it was about finally respecting my own worth. And so, the marriage ended not with her leaving me, but with me letting her go. She had thought freedom would liberate her, but in the end, it only showed her what she had lost. The truth hurt her more than she ever expected, and for me, it was the beginning of healing.